right, we've made it. Episode 3. Welcome. For those of you listening to this right now, if this is the first episode that you've tuned into, welcome. This is the Value Vault podcast, where my intention ultimately throughout this whole podcast and everything that I do, I feel in life, is to help provide you the knowledge, the value, the insights, the wisdom, and ultimately the awareness to actually realize the power, the potential that you have inside of you. I know that it's such a cliche thing. Hey, you've got power and potential inside of you, but it's true, and my aim really is to help you realize that and then take it a step further and help ignite the courage for you to actually tap into it and ultimately create that life with more meaning, more purpose, create more clarity, and help eliminate confusion as well. So welcome. Now, I did share on my Instagram story this morning what tonight's, whenever you listen to this, but I'm recording this and it's nighttime in the UK, that the podcast that I was going to speak on was all about stagnation and how stagnation can ultimately be one of the main contributing factors in feeling lost, feeling anxious, feeling frustrated, feeling stuck, feeling depressed, feeling depleted of energy, anything of the contrary, you're feeling good. And it came to me in this moment of, I always call them like downloads, because I feel like I don't know, I just tap into something and I just get this intuitive download because I'm always philosophizing in my mind. There's probably a lot of times where I got myself into holes, but it's because I really am so passionate about gaining this awareness of how we work, how we operate, why certain things happen the way that they do, so that I can actually do things like this, share it, because I'm passionate about sharing it. And it came to me because this morning when I woke up, I was feeling demotivated. I was feeling mentally like I was in a little bit of a battle, and my energy felt like flustered is probably how I would describe it. I don't know whether you can relate. But anyways, I was going through that little episode this morning. And whenever these happen, I always come out of it and I'm always curious about it. Like, why was that happening? What was causing that to actually happen? Because we all feel like that. That's a little secret in life. Everybody feels emotions like that at times. Nobody on this earth is exempt to feeling those types of emotion. Nobody, with human beings. It's part of the human experience. But I get inquisitive, and instantly I thought, right, okay, this is how I'm feeling. I'm not going to deny it. I'm not going to resist it. I'm not going to hide from it. I'm just going to feel it. And then I'm going to consciously make the decision to snap out of it. And instantly what shifted my energy was when I actually just started taking action. And the reason why I was feeling like that is because I wasn't actually taking action like I know that I should have been taken or that I could have been taken. That's aligned with my purpose. It's aligned with my higher self, with my vision for the future. And that's when it just came to me, really, within that. It's always the common denominator. It's always the common denominator. Whenever I feel like that, whenever I feel overwhelmed, whenever I feel anxiety or potentially frustration or a little bit of anger or annoyance, or I feel stuck, like all of these things, lacking direction and all of those things, what instantly gets me out of it is taking action. Now, action to you might look like putting on a pair of walking boots and going for a walk. It might look like putting your earphones in and doing a breath work. It might look like going to the gym. It might look like, in my case, it was actually taking action within everything that I'm creating here. Now, the reason why I feel like that is happening is because when we are in that mental state and we're in thought too much, we get too indulged in the mind, we essentially get disconnected from the body. And if you're listening to this on the podcast, you're not really going to be able to see the visual to this. You'll have to head over to the YouTube if you want to see the visuals as I do this. But if you imagine I seen a video, and it was by a guy, DJ Manset, and he explained anxiety and stuff perfectly. And it was that anxiety is when you get too far ahead, and it's just like, whoa, 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 come back, come back. Yeah, come back to the body. Yeah, you're good. It's okay. You went a little bit too far there. It's okay. And when I was saying that, it was just like, yeah, well, that makes sense. Like, that actually makes so much sense. So there's always the element of, am I getting too caught up in my mind? If I am, the way that I get out of that is through the body. It's through physical exertion. It's through action, whether that is going for a walk, whether that's breath work, having a cold shower, going to the gym, whatever it is. It could just be dancing on the spot, doing some press ups, skipping around, whatever it is, just getting the physiology to change, getting your body to shift, getting yourself out of your mind and into the body. That is a very, very powerful tool to treat the effect, because that's all it's doing. It's treating the effect, right? The reason why that's such an important thing to understand is because we live in a society where we're conditioned. If you've got an effect, which is either mentally, whether that's depression, anxiety, stress, fear, overwhelm, whatever it is, or whether it's physically, it's always, oh, well, let's treat that effect through something that's artificial. Let's take a pill, take that pill, and you'll feel better. Now, these types of things, going to the gym, having a cold shower, doing the breath work, going for a walk, doing some press ups, skipping and changing your physiology that way, that's for me like the holistic way of treating the effect. That's holistically putting a plaster on the wound. That's what that is. But it's only treating the effect. We really want to get to the cause of that effect. Okay, well, what's caused this state of depression? What's caused this feeling of anxiety? Right? What's actually triggered it? What's caused it? And what came to me this morning, and it makes so much sense because of out of everything that I study, it's that for me, the common denominator, every time I feel like that, is because I'm not actually taking action moving forward. I'm either getting stuck on a phone scrolling, or I'm just sitting there procrastinating, or I'm just lost in thought, or I'm just overindulging in eating shitty foods or anything like that. Whenever I'm not growing, I feel like I'm dying. And there's a very simple law of the universe. It's create or disintegrate. So that means that everything in the universe moves. Everything vibrates. It's the law of vibration. It's one of the primary laws of the universe. Everything in this universe vibrates. You vibrate. I vibrate. There's no such thing as something remaining idle. Now, with that, the reason why that's important is, I think it was it Isaac Newton who created the law where it was like an object in motion will always remain in motion until stopped. Now, for me, that applies to us. If we aren't growing, if we aren't moving forwards, then we are moving backwards. We are declining. If we aren't accelerating, we're decelerating. You know, if these things aren't happening, if we aren't inclining, we're declining. Whether this is physically, if we're not physically growing, if we're not growing our muscles, if we're not improving our cardiovascular, if we're not improving our heart rate beat per minute, you know, if we're not bettering ourselves physically, whether that be through food or exercise or love and relationships, and then also on a mental aspect, if mentally we're staying trapped in this cage of thinking, riddled with all of these negative self-talk stories and self-image and perceptions and beliefs about ourselves, about our abilities, about our life, about the people around us. And then on a spiritual sense, if we're not growing, if we're not going after truly what our heart desires, you know, for me, to the degree in which we suppress our goals, dreams, and desires is to the degree in which we will suffer. So if you find that your emotional home, which as I was saying, I think was on episode 1, that our emotional home is, like Ed Milet said, you know, it's the feeling that we feel most often during the day. So when we create the awareness of like, okay, what is my emotional home? It might be anxiety. It might be fear. It might be frustration. It might be anger. It might be guilt. It might be depression. It also might be excitement, joy, love, compassion, gratitude, all of those things. It also might be that. But when we create the awareness of, well, what is my emotional home? It's an excellent starting point. And with me and my journey, whenever I'm feeling those emotions which don't really serve me, whenever I feel stuck, whenever I feel confused, whenever I feel overwhelmed, when I feel exhausted, when I feel like my energy is getting heavy, when I feel a little bit depressed or a little bit anxious, right? Or a little bit doubt and worry, it's always because it always boils down to the same thing. I'm not growing. I'm not moving forward. I'm remaining stagnant. Because with that, we are growth-centric beings. We are centered and evolved around growth. That's why we feel our most happiest when we are expanding, when we are elevating, and we recognize that. That's when we feel our best, when that is happening. Because I think there was a study that was done, and it was about all of these top performers. And, you know, when you look at these Olympians, or I think Israel Adesanya, you know, when he won the UFC belt, he experienced depression after he was depressed. Tyson Fury, another person like that. And the reason why is because it's never really about achieving the thing that's going to give us the feeling that we want to feel. It's always the pursuit of it. That's when we feel our best, because we're achieving something. We've got a definite purpose. We feel like we actually have a purpose, that there's meaning to our life. And if we're going through life like a wandering generality, or a ship without a sail, with no direction, no objective, nothing to actually anchor into and move towards and accelerate towards, that's when we're going to feel those negative feelings, because we aren't designed to not be growing, to not be evolving. And the science backs it. Now, the reason why I was saying about Israel Adesanya and Tyson Fury, when it comes to, you know, they were feeling depressed after they were achieving it, it's called postpartum depression. I think that's the science behind it. And it's because the reason why I'm mentioning that is because it's very important for us to not place our whole feeling, our whole worth on the achievement and attainment of this objective thing, this result. Because when we achieve the result, the dopamine is going to woof, we're going to crash because we've got it, and that's it. But that only lasts however long. For Israel Adesanya, it was only about 12 hours. So the reason why I mention that is because when we do decide, and when we do sit with ourselves and think and create awareness and create an understanding of, who am I? What is it that I truly desire in life? What do I enjoy doing? What makes me feel the best, which is healthy? And when we choose to design and create our life that evolves around those things, and we embody and express those things on a day-to-day basis, that's really when we're going to allow ourselves to feel the feelings that we truly want to feel. But understanding and keeping that awareness in mind of, well, I'm not going to place my happiness in the now on the attainment of something in the future, because to the body, it doesn't understand time. Because time really is an illusion. That isn't just some woohoo stuff. It actually is an illusion. It's ego. Time does not actually exist to the body. Think of it from this sense. At the moment in time that you are listening to this podcast right now, whenever it is, if we were to rewind the clock 24 hours, this moment right now technically would be the future. But we're in this moment now, and we don't say that we're in the future, we say that we're in the present. Fast forward 24 hours, this time tomorrow, to us right now, it's the future. But when we're in that moment, we're not going to say, oh, I'm living in the future now, because you don't even see that now. It's always the present. And to the body, that's all there ever is, the present. So when we learn to create the image and create the vision, and just have this knowing of what our purpose is, where we want to be heading in life, and that is always going to change as we grow. But when we get a foundational point for us to move towards, that's when we're going to start feeling more of those positive, uplifting feelings that we truly want to be feeling, when we are making progress towards them. But really tapping into and understanding, it's never the attainment and the achievement of something which gives the feeling. If we do, then we're going to be miserable. Because to the body, it's like, well, okay, I don't feel happy now, so I'm never going to feel happy then because all I ever have is now. That's why I spoke briefly about that. So with that, create some awareness within yourself. When do I actually feel my best? That's why after a gym session, you feel so great. Because it's like, growth, you're growing. We're not comfort-centric beings. When we're in stagnation for too long, when we're operating in a way which doesn't serve us and doesn't contribute anywhere towards our own growth and development and elevation, if we're in those states for too long, that's when the negative feelings start to come in, the negative thoughts, because we're declining, we're disintegrating. It's create or disintegrate. That's what it is. So my question for you is, why are you waking up on a morning? Why? Is it to go to work? To do something you don't really want to do? To earn a paycheck that you're not really happy with? Is that why? Sacrificing being able to spend your time with the people and doing the things that you love to do with the people who you love? Is that why you're waiting up to do that? Why are you actually waiting up? And if you don't know why, I know the first time that I heard that, I almost felt like, oh God, Jesus, yeah. But I actually want to invite you to get excited with that, because now you're actually starting to become conscious. Now you're starting to think. You're starting to ask yourself the right questions. Why am I actually waking up? Am I waking up just to work a job, to pay a bill, to pay off my credit card, to pay off my car finance? Is that why I'm waking up? To then be able to scrape just a little bit enough money together by the end of the week to go out drinking? Is that why I'm alive? Is that why I'm waiting? When we create and just sit and ask ourselves these type of questions and go, there's more to life to this, because there is more to life than what you're experiencing right now. There's more to yourself than what you're experiencing right now. But if we never take the time to sit and ask ourselves these questions and just embrace that discomfort that we are going to feel when it's like, whoa, because the body almost just resists it on such a massive level. It's like, no, we're not doing this. So my question to you is, why are you awake? And you might be listening to this and you might have no idea. You might be feeling depressed. You might feel like waking up is actually more of an inconvenience and that you can't actually wait to go to sleep. You're excited to go to sleep. And the reason why behind within that is because it's not that you're tired. It's not that you don't have the energy to do those things that you know that you should be doing, whether that's going to the gym, whether it's starting the business, whether it's reading the book, whether it's meditating or going for the run or whatever it is. It's not that you're tired. It's just that you're uninspired. That's what it is. Like, why do you actually want to wake up? What do you want to actually be doing with your life? What do you want to be moving and working towards? Because we are goal-striving machines. Inside of us, we have a servo mechanism, which is like a goal-striving mechanism. We're designed for growth. And when we decide to feed the goal-striving mechanism inside of us an objective of something which we truly, truly want, that lifestyle, that way of being and operating, that way of feeling, the level of impact and service that you want to have in the world, whatever it is, when you decide to anchor onto that and you decide to be defined by a vision of the future, this compelling future, as opposed to just having the memories of the past just wash around the mind and everything that you wish you did do or everything that you wish you didn't do and how this didn't work out and how that happened and how they did this and how all that stuff, as opposed to living and operating with that is our operating manual, feeding our goal-striving mechanism more of that. The moment we decide to switch that and we no longer decide to be defined and ruled and governed by memories of the past, but by this compelling vision for the future, that's when we're going to change. That is when the lights are going to start bouncing in the mind. That's when you're going to start feeling more of this feeling of, there's actually meaning to my life. I actually have a reason why for getting up and out of bed. There's a reason why I feel like I have a purpose. And the moment you connect to that and you take the daily actions required to get there, that is when your energy is going to start to shift. There's no amount of scrolling on Instagram or TikTok or YouTube. There's no amount of watching Netflix. There's no amount of alcohol. There's no amount of weed. There's no amount of drugs. There's no amount of complaining and dwelling on fears and anxieties and worries about the future or stuff about the past. There's none of that which is going to shift your energy. That's the reason why you are where you are. None of that's going to change your state. In order for you to change your state, step one, you've got to change your physiology. Move your body, get out of your head, get into your body. Exercise, go for a run, drop down, do 20 press-ups, do some breath work, do some star jumps, go to the gym, go in a cold shower. Change your state, alter your physiology. Because once that changes, you then unlock the mechanism for switching the mind. Then remind yourself of the vision for the future. Remind yourself of that compelling thing that you're moving towards. Remind yourself of it, because this is the thing. 95% of who you are, of how you think, of how you feel, of how you behave is unconscious. It's habitual. It's autopilot. So you are quite literally going to need to remind yourself of, no, I've changed now. That used to be my old way of operating. Now this is the way that I operate. This is what I think about. No, I've changed. I've grown. And you remind yourself of who you are, of what you're moving towards. And this is me speaking to myself. Like, I'm still telling myself this. Remind yourself of it. Because there'll be times where you will forget and you will go into autopilot. You will think those thoughts. You will feel those feelings. You will take those certain actions. You will. But it's about anchoring into the vision, the reason why, keeping yourself surrounded by people who are on that similar path, who have the results that you want, who are going to help keep you accountable and encourage and support the growth and the journey, and not try and pull you into the old way of operating. You've got to become aware of those types of people, because environment is far more important than hereditary. The way that we are born, the DNA, the genes that we have within us is insignificant in terms of determining whether we achieve what we want to achieve, compared to the people and the environment that we surround ourselves with. Environment is so crucial. Environment is so important. Who are the people who you are seeing on a day-to-day basis? What are the quality of the conversations? Is there anything talking about growth? Is there anything talking about this compelling vision for the future? Is there anything where you're being supported, you're being held accountable, where you are being celebrated? Is any of that actually happening around you? If it's not, you've got to ask yourself a serious question. And this is why it can be so tough. And I feel like so many people stay stuck, is because that is uncomfortable to do. Because you love those people, but you've got to ask yourself, is it benefiting me? Is it serving me? Having this is my environment. Now, it's not to say cut those people out altogether. No, it's just become mindful of how often you are spending time with them, because you become a product of your environment. And you've got to take inventory of the environment, of the people you have around you, and ask yourself, is this in any way, shape, or form helping me get to where I want to be, pushing me towards where I want to be? If it's not, when you get anchored to the reason why for changing, when you get clarity on the vision of the change, you've then got to ask yourself the question, what is it within myself that has to change? And what is it around me that I can change, that's in my control? You can't control how people think, feel, and act. What you can control is to whether you spend your time with those people on a day-to-day basis. That's what you can control. You can only control what you can do. So take inventory of your environment, of the way that you've been operating, of your reason why for changing, of the change that you wish to see. Get yourself surrounded by the people who can keep you accountable to that, and execute. And the more that you execute, the more that you take those steps moving forward, that's when you're going to eliminate the feelings of the anxiety and stuff. You will feel them from time to time as well. They're a part of the human experience, but they'll become far less frequent. And they'll be for the right reason. It's because you're growing, and it's like, oh God, I'm growing. It's not like, oh God, I'm not growing. It's, oh, I'm growing. I'm learning something new. I'm doing something new. And I am in the process of creating a mindset mastery course designed to help people who are feeling stuck, who are feeling overwhelmed, who are feeling depressed, anxious, feeling like there's a lot of mental noise, feeling like there's no clarity or direction or purpose, and just feeling stuck. I am in the process of creating a course to help you overcome that and tap into your potential and really make you feel like you are making progress, that you are on the right path, that there is meaning and purpose to your life, and that you are becoming the person who you know deep down that you are meant to be. And get yourself surrounded with those types of people. Get yourself involved in those types of things. Listening to this podcast right now, this is helping you in that journey because of creating awareness. And the more that you do it, the more that you stick on this path, the more that you decide to commit to becoming the person who you know deep down you're meant to be, and having the impact that you know that you can have, and create the life that you know that you can live, that you know deep down you really, 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 really want. The moment that you start to embody those things and take action on a day-to-day basis to achieve them, that is the moment you eliminate stagnation. That is the moment you're going to start feeling more purpose. That's the moment you're going to start feeling more progress. And that's the moment you're going to start feeling more alive within your life. And that's when everything starts to change. So remember, it's create or disintegrate. If we aren't growing, you are dying. Commit to the process, anchor into the why, anchor into the vision, create awareness of the environment, have the difficult conversations you need to have, surround yourself with the people, the podcasts, the material, the courses, which is going to contribute towards your growth, and enjoy the journey. Go for it. And remember that your mind is the creator. You are the observer. And your life can change in an instant the moment that you decide to change. Peace out. See you in episode 4.